Welcome to the shadows, where secrets are deadly and whispers echo, and the veil between the realms wears thin. This is Gothic Undone, your gateway to unsettling myths and legends, the spooky and unknown. Are you ready to peer into the darkness? Arthur, the first Irish vampire of Celtic folklore. Welcome back, and as you can see, we are doing our folklore roots again to the Irish Celtic folklore I love so much. Arthur is a name meaning dwarf, and usually chieftains of clans are big, burly, the strongest men of the clan. However, people believe he got by with wizardry. That instead of getting by being voted in by his people or being the strongest and winning fights, he used evil, dark magic to get in. And he ruled over his land with an iron fist. People did not like him, and he was a very jealous and hateful man. So one day, when he went to spy on his wife to see if she was cheating and he fell to his death, his people were very, very happy. And they did celebrate his death with glee. Parties were thrown and they were relieved to be away from his tyranny. Unfortunately, though, they found that Abernath was not done. He rose from the grave, and he demanded blood from his people. He turned to their doorsteps at night with bowls, demanding that they cut their wrists and feed him as their chieftain. They feared him deeply, and they did not know what to do. They prayed, they tried locking their doors, but nothing would happen. Until one day they did plead to a chieftain from another clan to please help them, and he agreed to. Cathan was a brave man, and he knew that he had to go back to help these people. So again he returned to kill the evil dwarf. But, of course, the Irish vampire would not be stopped, and again on the second night he rose, demanding blood from his villagers. Arthur almost could not be stopped, and Cathan didn't know what to do. So desperate in his plight, he went to one of the great druids for advice. Now, of course, this was pre-Christianity, this story, which is its origin. After that, they said that he went to Saint Owen for advice. We're going to stick with the original here. And the great druid said that you cannot kill what is already dead. Instead, that he needed to ensure that he never came back. He needed to make a sword made out of wood from a yew tree. Yew trees were very, very precious and sacred and revered by the Druids and the Celts. And you need to take this sword, drive it through the dead heart of Arthur, and make sure that he did not rise again. He needed to bury him then under this yew tree and lay slabs across so that he could not rise ever again. This yew tree and these slabs still stand. They still exist to this day. And it says that Arthur has never risen from his grave since. You can actually visit this place, as it does exist in Ireland, in Slataverty Dolmen, also referred to as the Giant's Grave. Now this brings us to the yew tree, which is an unbelievably magical, beautiful tree. The yew tree can grow for thousands upon thousands of years. It has to reach 900 years before it is considered ancient, unlike the oak tree, which can reach 400 years to be considered ancient. Some of these trees can go on, apparently the eldest is believed to be in Scotland and can be anywhere between 6,000 to 9,000 years old. Now, of course, the berries are poisonous. Birds can eat them, but human beings cannot. And that's where the toxicity of the tree does come from, where it can be seen as both blessed and also not so much. Now, many people find that in churchyards yew trees grow, and that is because pre-Christianity, these were sacred lands of the pagan people, the Celts and the Druids. and these sacred lands were where the yew trees were and where they would perform their ceremonies. Instead, then, when obviously Catholicism took over, these grounds, still considered sacred, became part of the churchyards instead, which of course may be where the whole wooden stake being plunged into a vampire's heart being the only way to kill a vampire may have came from. This story, which must have inspired, in my book, Bram Stoker's Dracula, which of course was thought to be the first book written about Irish vampires, but actually Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu was about a woman who was a vampire from Ireland, and she was a lesbian vampire. And this brings us nicely on to our next bit. The legend of Darren Dua, the first woman Irish vampire. Her story is a sad one. It is said many years ago there was a beautiful princess of a great chieftain who only cared about greed. He did not care about his daughter or her happiness. But it turned out she was madly in love with the farmhand who worked on the land of her father. This, of course, was a secret, but they met every day to hold each other's hands and speak of their future and running away together. Alas, their plans would never be fulfilled, for her father was a cruel man. He did not care for how happy his daughter would be. All he wanted was land and money. So he made a deal with an equally cruel chieftain of another clan for many riches and lands of his own. No matter how much his daughter cried and spoke of her love, no matter how much she lamented, and alone she stood, telling her farmer hand she could no longer see him, for she was now betrothed to another against her will, even though arranged marriages were not strange for that time. Great parties were had, of course, by that chieftain. The chieftain she married was crueler than her father even was, and he treated her terribly, enjoying to watch her in pain both emotionally and physically, whilst he carried on with his folly, with his clan, and with many wenches he kept by his side and concubines. So unfortunately the poor princess was left to waste away. She was only seen as a trophy. He locked her in her room, he for his pleasure and his pleasure alone. She then refused to eat. She couldn't sleep. She wouldn't drink any water. And in her deep melancholy, she then wasted away and passed away. This brings us to the story of the Darag Dua, the red bloodsucker, as she is known. See, when she did pass away, they buried her in a pauper's grave, not even caring about her. And her farmhand would pray for her to come back, but she did come back, just not as he would think. And she came back not because of his lost love or his grief, but instead for revenge. Revenge against her father who had put her through such torment. Revenge against her disgusting husband. Two chieftains who only cared about themselves. Loved nothing but money, greed, drink, and their folly. Of course, we now have our female vampire who would rise from her grave to get revenge. She slew her father first, ensuring he died in agony, and then she returned to her disgusting husband who let her waste away, and she took his life too. It was said to be a most bloody scene as she feasted off their crimson elixir. Now, it is said that she did rise from her grave only on the eve of her death, looking for young men who may be wandering alone at night to seduce them and feast off them too. So it's said that in Waterford, where her alleged grave lies, On the eve of her death, people go and place stones and slabs, symbols of protection, to try to ensure she doesn't rise again. And that, my spooky ones, brings us to the end of today's spooky, scary folklore from Ireland. These two are one of my favourites. I must say I do prefer the one of the woman vampire seeking her revenge. Thank you for joining me for today's video. If you liked the video, please do hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. And please do ensure to hit that notification bell so you know when I have risen from the dead.